Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Taylor Swift. It's going to be another rant video. So it's not going to be super well researched, okay? Before anyone gets my ass about it, okay? It's just going to be about I made a video about a rant video by her before from a while ago. It was about her and Ariana Grande, but this one's going to be more on her and her career and also her stands and specifically Gaylors too as well. I want to talk about them. The last video I made, I think I was talking mostly about stands and like parasocial behavior, but this is going to be a lot about her specifically in her career as well. So I was going to write a list to make sure I hit certain points, but I actually think I'm going to be able to hit everything I want to talk about like naturally. So I'm just going to start. So I recently watched a video. By recently I mean today. I watched two videos about the start of Taylor's career. And specifically, there was an email that was leaked from her dad, Scott Swift, where it basically it was 5 pages long, by the way, and I'll link the two videos I watched too. It was 5 pages long. It was basically about how he was doing all this stuff with his connections to get Taylor to have these opportunities for her to become famous. And it was like how he was doing all this stuff and working, doing all this hard work, but like wasn't really seeing the fruits of his labor because like his wife, Andrea, her mom, was basically the one going off with Taylor, and they were able to enjoy all the good treatment while he had to sit back. And specifically said something about babysitting Austin, which is Taylor's brother, who like we never see, which is fine because maybe he doesn't want to be famous, but it was kind of a little bit unhinged. It was just basically him being like, I've done all this stuff. I am able to make all this money through, because he was a stockbroker, I'm pretty sure. And he was like, I make all this money and have all these connections, and I don't get to see any of it. He even says something about having prostate cancer, and how he had to get his prostate sucked out of him while they get to or something like that. I'll try to put and plug in the clip, but it was crazy, and him just basically saying it's lonely being the dad, and it's lonely how I have to do all this stuff, and I don't get to see anything of it. And also, I recently found out that her parents are divorced, and I didn't even know that. I had no idea. But yeah, there's one specific event where Taylor went to perform at a specific event that he was able to, because he said someone that was curating the event, it was something about releasing rubber ducks into like a river or something. And he was like, oh, I'll help you with it if you let my daughter, if you let Taylor sing at this event. And he talked about how he had to pick up like 15,000 little ducks afterwards, and it hurt his arm. And then there was something about the radio. What was it? There was something about iHeartRadio and how he had to blow up a bunch of balloons on the roof just for Taylor and all this other stuff. And clearly, what I'm getting at is that clearly her parents really wanted her to be famous, and which I think, if we're looking at that on its own, besides the fact that her dad is clearly feels very self-centered and whatever, besides that, I don't think it's inherently wrong for you to use your connections to make your child famous. I actually don't think that's inherently wrong. Because I feel like if my parents were famous and they had connections, but they were not famous because her parents aren't famous, but they did have connections. Because her mom worked in marketing as well. So she also knows about marketing. But if my parents had the connections to be able to make me famous, like, because I wanted to be a singer as well, and if I went to my parents and, hey, I want to be a singer, I want to learn how to play guitar and do all this stuff, and they had the connection to do it, they had the money because her parents were wealthy as well, my parents would have fully done the same thing. Like they would have used their connections to help make me famous. And I don't think that's inherently wrong. Like when it comes to the idea of like Nepo babies, with Nepo babies, it's specifically about famous people though, of having parents that are famous. I don't think it's inherently wrong to have famous parents and use those connections to become famous. I don't think that's inherently wrong. The problem comes in when people act as if their parents being famous didn't help them, or they try to act like they came from some humble beginnings when really that's not true. And that's something that happened with Taylor Swift. She tried to paint herself to be like, yeah, I'm just from this Christmas tree farm, and acting like she was this humble like country girl, even though she's from Pennsylvania and they moved to Nashville, Tennessee to help make her famous, because Nashville is a huge like music place. It's very like music centered. Um, and put on a fake country accent as well. Um, she did all that and had like again I like I said had the connections with her parents, have it with her dad especially, having these connections to be able to get her to be famous. You know, so she didn't come from these humble beginnings like she liked to pretend that she did. And you know what's funny is that people are always so quick to call people industry plants, especially nowadays. You see it a lot with specifically with young women. I rarely ever hear a guy being called an industry plant, but a young woman, young girl being called industry plants. But when you look at Taylor Swift and her story, the whole situation of her going into country music, moving from Pennsylvania to the South to Tennessee to get into country music, put on a fake country accent, and then have these connections with her father, and then try to put on this humble beginning thing. She is literally the definition of an industry plant. She is literally the definition of an industry plant, and yet you hear nobody ever really talk about that. But yeah, so like I said, with her career, you see with the start of her career, clearly her parents really wanted her to be famous. And it's something that they were really focused on. They clearly looked at Austin as like an afterthought. If you look at that email, they clearly were looking at him as an afterthought basically, and all their focus was on Taylor. And you see with Taylor's career and like with like her PR and stuff like with a lot of people talk about her publicist Tree, who's her PR manager and stuff, and like I said, publicist, stuff like that. She's just like is so quick on everything that happens and all that. I wonder how much she gets paid for that. Like genuinely, I'm genuinely curious. I wonder how much she gets paid to be a publicist. But anyways, and then you look at you see Taylor, and you look at her and her career, and how she clearly, like, everything is so calculated and manufactured, and that's something I feel like Taylor isn't really a person. When you think of how she's presented in the media, everything is so calculated, and she just feels like a brand. And then I'm going to move forward a little bit. I move forward to TTPD actually. When TTPD came out last year, it was during the Eras tour, which first of all I thought was crazy to release an album during a tour. I thought that was crazy. During the Eras tour, and she was in the Eras tour was 2 years, which is such a long time. Like, this girl, I'll admit, has an insane work ethic, because to go on tour for 2 years straight is crazy. I know she had breaks in between, obviously, but that's still a long time to go on tour. But she basically had this huge tour, one of the most highest grossing tours ever. I think is the highest grossing tour ever, female tour ever. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I have to check that. But you have this tour, and then she releases TTPD, and then TTPD is where I noticed this whole thing with all these variants. I didn't notice that before, but she did release variants with Midnights, which is the album before TTPD. But I didn't even really notice that until I saw it with TTPD, where first of all, TTPD was already a double album. It was the Torture Spoiler Department, and then it was The Alchemy. I think that's what the second album is called, The Alchemy. It was already a double album, which I think is crazy, because this album in general, I think from what was it, like 14 songs I listened to on the first one? I don't remember. I think I listened to half of the first album, and I listened to like a few songs from the second one. It's the themes and it just doesn't seem cohesive as an album overall, and that definitely has to do with the fact that she was on tour already. I feel like if she would have released this album without when she wasn't on tour, I think it would have been way more cohesive, especially visually, because she only had one music video, and it was Fortnite, and it was all over the place. Really, there was really no. It just felt like there was no real thing. And I feel like that's the case with Taylor ever since she started directing her own music videos. It feels like everything is just mindless visuals just for the sake of visuals. I finally watched the Me music video, which Me is from Lover, which came out in, what was that, 2019? And it was just a lot of visuals just for the sake of visuals that didn't really make sense. Same with the Karma music video, which this is a bad song. I don't like Karma. Midnights, I've only listened to like a few songs off of Midnights. I've only heard like the popular songs. I love Lavender Haze though. I love that song. But Karma is bad. It's a bad song, and it's a very heavily misuse of the word karma. But anyways, so you have this album that comes out. It's not really cohesive. It definitely is an album that a lot of people, even her own fans, are like, yeah, this is bad. Because the lyricism was bad in this album. I think lyric-wise it was bad. It was very, a lot of the songs were very corny and cringe. But you have all these variants that keep coming out. Because there are so many variants that came out from this album because she was so determined to keep being number one. Because she was number one for like 12 weeks straight. But the only reason why she was because she kept releasing a bunch of different variants. That's the only reason why she was number one for so long. And she especially, at one point, specifically released a variant only in the UK the day that Brat dropped, which was clearly on purpose to block Charlie XCX. Obviously. And it's crazy to see so many people try to defend her releasing all these variants, obviously trying to block people's number one spot. I think she lost her spot when Eminem dropped the Death of Slim Shady. And it's just, yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I think she cares way too much about the numbers, and you can see that a lot in her fans as well. Swifties care way too much about numbers as well. It feels like they don't care about the music anymore. And I think that's a problem with stands in general when it comes to music, because for some reason, when it comes to music, people get really crazy, and you see it a lot with Swifties. They don't care about the music anymore. It's all about them feeling like they have some sort of personal connection to Taylor, and they defend everything that she does. And they look so much at the numbers and be like, well, she has this number one spot, this huge spot. It's like, it doesn't matter, though. Why does that matter? It's like, do you like the music? That's what matters. Do you like it? Do you like TTPD? Do you like the Alchemy? Do you think all these different variants were truly necessary? Like, be honest. Do you like the album? Like, I mean, who cares about the numbers? Same with the amount of Grammys that someone gets. Because TTPD did get nominated for multiple Grammys, but it didn't win any, which I'm glad it did. And I don't think it deserved to win anything. And people... you still saw people bringing up the numbers, being like, how did this win? She was higher than this song or something like that. It's like, it doesn't matter, though. It's like, why did you care so much about that? Now, if you personally, genuinely think that you genuinely like it more than an album that won over it, or a song that won over Fortnite, because Fortnite was the song from the album that was nominated, then that's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. But when you start bringing numbers into it, that's when you lose me. That's when you lost, in my opinion. It makes me think of, maybe do a little bit of a pivot. Maybe think of Billie Eilish stans, who were mad that Cowboy Carter won Album of the Year over Hit Me Hard and Soft, even though me personally, I didn't listen to Cowboy Carter. I only listened to like a few songs off of it, because I'm not into country music, so I just didn't really feel like listening to that album. But I did listen to Hit Me Hard and Soft, and I thought it was pretty mid. I don't think it was a bad album. I just think it was mid, and I wasn't surprised that it didn't win anything, to be honest. And they just completely ignored the fact that other songs won over it. Like Sabrina won twice over it. Sabrina won for best pop album, and that was over Hit Me Hard and Soft. Same with she won another one that was also over. I think was over Birds of a Feather. So I don't understand why they keep bringing up Beyonce, and also acting as if they don't like, trying to claim that Beyonce's album wasn't as good. But a lot of them hadn't even listened to it. It's like, how are you going to claim that it's not as good when you haven't even listened to it? You haven't given it a chance. You can't have that opinion if you haven't listened to it. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not about the music. It's just about them defending this person that they have this parasocial relationship with. But anyways, back to TTPD. But yeah, people decided that TTPD wasn't that good of an album, and that it didn't win any Grammys. But the reason why I bring that up is because it's the whole thing with just all the different variants I just thought was ridiculous. And we're seeing it now with The Life of a Showgirl. That album was released, when it was revealed what the next album was going to be, I think it was August 17th. She had a countdown on her website. She had a countdown on her website, and you see The Life of a Showgirl is revealed, and you see the album cover. I don't really care too much for the album cover. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was when I first saw it, but I do think that it could be better. I think it could have been shot at a better angle, and also I don't really care for the font of the title. But we see the album cover, and I remember I was watching the Swiftologist video about it, where he was showing, because he was waiting for the countdown and showed it, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. Life of a Showgirl. I wouldn't really see Taylor Swift as a showgirl. Especially showgirls are supposed to be like sexy and stuff, and I think she's trying to really give that vibe. I personally don't think Taylor really gives much sex appeal. That's of course just my opinion, and I'm not trying to be mean at all. You know, some people just don't naturally have a sex appeal. Or for years, Taylor hasn't really tried to do that. I remember there was an interview from a while ago where she said that she wasn't that type of girl, you know. But there is a photo shoot that she did in 2019 for Vogue UK. What was it, UK or British Vogue? I can't remember. It's one of those. And there's during that shoot, there's a specific photo that she's in where she's laying on the bed, and she looks, and that's the only time I've ever seen her give any real sex appeal, because I love it. I love the styling that she had during that shoot. It looks very, very good. But anyways, so we have Life as a Showgirl, and now today is September 1st, and there's been I think at least 7 variants that have been released of that album already, and of not only, I think, of vinyls and CDs. I'm pretty sure. I've never been on Taylor Swift's website because I'm not a Swiftie, but I'm pretty sure it's vinyls, and because I know specifically the most recent one. I think this is the most recent one she released. It's one of her looking right at the camera. It's close up to her face, where she has like the thing that the showgirls have, like I don't know what it's called, and there are 2 different versions of that one photo. Like, it's the same photo, but there's 2 different versions. There are 2 different color vinyls, and I know she has those different colors of the vinyl. She has like different names for them. There's one that's called like the Shiny Bug collection. There's one called the Tiny Bubbles and Champagne. And I just think it's insane for you to spend hundreds of dollars on different variants of an album that hasn't even come out yet. The Life of a Showgirl doesn't come out until October 3rd. It is come out for a month. And she's probably going to release more variants after that. And I just think that's crazy. Because imagine releasing a bunch of variants for an album that hasn't come out yet, and also having something on the page that says the adult card, because she knows her fans will do it. She's exploiting this obsession that her fans have with her, and the fact that they'll buy anything that she does. And I understand that they don't have to buy it all, because I know a lot of people love to say that. They'll be like, well, they don't have to buy all the albums. It's like, yeah, no shit. No shit, they don't have to buy it all. But she still knows that they will. And I think it's very exploitative. I do. And also the fact that a lot of the different pictures that she's released are better than the cover, in my opinion. There's one specific picture that she has that is like her in a black bob wig, and she's like going like this, and it just looks, that picture should have been the cover, in my opinion. I think that picture should have been the cover 100%. Also, I think she could have experimented more with her hair. I feel like her hair looks the same in some of the photos, and I just wish she just do something different with her hair. Also, what else was I going to say about Life of a Showgirl? I can't remember what else I was going to say about this album release. Oh yeah, the album released. We have the album release, and we have all these variants coming through, and then she gets engaged. her and Travis announced their engagement. I believe that they probably got engaged way before they announced it, but um, they announced their engagement. And you notice in the photo that they're both wearing Ralph Lauren allegedly. And I think that's kind of crazy. You have Ralph Lauren allegedly, and then you have after, right, the day after Travis's American Eagle ad um, is released. And he's doing a collaboration with them as well, with like a whole clothing line. And then the NFL season is coming up. So it's like you have all these ads and these marketing with Taylor's career, with his career, him American Eagle, and his career in the NFL, and then lumped into all of that is their engagement, and that's so crazy to me because imagine having your engagement, something that's supposed to be personal, be still lumped in with a bunch of advertisements and marketing, and them allegedly both wearing Ralph Lauren as well. The pictures themselves also an ad. It's like that. I think that that's so crazy that everything that you do is some sort of promotion for something. Like that's really really sad to me. Um, but yeah, they're engaged. And then I remember I saw a clip of this was before they announced their engagement, but it was on the podcast with Travis and his brother. It's called the New Heights, and she talked about how this is something that she's wanted since she was a teenager because she's finally with the football player, with the jock now, and I just think that's sad. I do. I think that's sad because, like, girl, you're almost 36 years old and you're still caught up. It's like it feels like you're still caught up in this. This is why I'm doing in high school. I'm finally the girl, the weird girl that gets the jock. It's like that's so weird to me. You know what I mean? Um, and I feel like she's going into this like weird. It just all feels too nationalistic to me. It feels too perfect. You have this Miss Americana, like her documentary, which I will be talking about, uh, getting with the football player. Football is very very patriotic and stuff. I've never cared for football. I literally do not like football. I don't like the NFL. It's just also, and also compared with, her hanging out with MAGA people, and but then you look back when she was in Miss Americana and her having this whole thing where she was so anti-Trump and how she wanted to speak out about social issues, and she made Lover, because Lover was partially about that, because she made You Need to Calm Down, which to the Gaylors, only a straight woman could ever make a song like that. Then she came out with The Man, which is basically about misogyny, and basically like, I wonder if I get there quicker if I was a man, which I always thought was kind of weird because, girl, you're a massive pop star, get where quicker. But anyways, um, she had the whole thing about that, but then now she doesn't speak out about social issues. She's hanging out with MAGA people. Brittany Mahone is her best friend, even though Brittany Mahone is a huge Trumper. Um, and Trump has also personally has said bad things about Taylor and said that he hated her. But anyways, there was what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but connecting with that, I think it shows performative activism and performative allyship when it comes to Taylor. I think it really shows there. I think people wouldn't care as much if she didn't come out with that Miss Americana doc. If she didn't come out with this whole doc about how she wanted to step up and be on the right side of history and talk about social issues. If she hadn't come out with that, people wouldn't. I don't think people would be as hard on her as they are now. Because honestly, if you think about it, it is kind of crazy to believe a billionaire would care about social issues because they don't affect her, especially with the fact that Taylor is a cishet white woman who is a billionaire. You'd be like, yeah, of course she doesn't care, but you can't really be surprised that people would hold her to that standard when she set herself to that standard. It's like you came out with this whole documentary about you coming out as a Democrat and you saying that you want to talk more about social issues and be on the right side of history, like I said, and crying to, I think it was her father or her grandfather about it. But then now you say nothing and our country is literally descending into fascism. That's crazy. But like, I know she did endorse Kamala, but like, she could do a lot more. She really could. And I think the only reason why she even had that whole activist era was because of Joe. Because Joe is someone who does speak out about political issues, and I think that's the only reason why she did that. I feel like she's the type of person who becomes whoever they're dating. She becomes whatever guy she's dating, and becomes whatever they want. Because there was what was I gonna say? There was something I was gonna say specifically. Oh yeah, there are so many of her stands that are saying so. Like she can't say something because of her safety, which I just don't understand. Because like she has all the resources in the world to protect herself. I don't understand why her safety would come into question. I I don't get it. I don't understand why her safety would come into question. She literally has all the resources in the world to keep herself safe. There are people that speak out about stuff, that talk about issues that don't even have half the resources that she has. You know what I mean? And they're like when you think about like someone like Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande literally has been through a terrorist attack. Has literally been through a terrorist attack, and yet she still speaks out about issues. She still talks about being pro-Palestine. She still speaks out against this administration, even though she has literally been through a terrorist attack. And I just think a lot of people, when it comes to, I think in general, when it comes to people's faves, they always like to assume the best of these people, and even sometimes will go out of their way to just make up shit about people. Like we'll make up things about them doing and saying stuff that just isn't true at all. It's just to try to save them. It's like, how do you become so defensive on behalf of someone else? I understand that you want to believe someone that you love, and when it comes to, especially when it comes to music and loving the art they make, that you want them to be a good person, but sometimes they're just not. Sometimes they just don't care, and you have to be honest about that. Um, but I want to talk about Gaylors for a minute because I don't understand why they even exist. Actually, I do understand it a little bit. I'll say this when it comes to her relationship with Carly Kloss when they used to be best friends. I kind of get it. Kind of get it. Because they were super, super close. They did seemingly became super close pretty fast. And they had a super, really public friendship and were everywhere together and all this other stuff. But like even with that, I think that they just had a really close female friendship, or maybe it could have been one of those homoerotic friendships that everyone has experienced at least once in their life. You know, it could have been, but I don't think Taylor's gay. I don't. I don't. A lot of these Gaylors are incredibly fucking delusional, and I mean incredibly delusional. It's actually insane how delusional these people are. They really truly think that Taylor's gay, and I just don't. I don't get it. I think Taylor's the straightest woman ever. I don't get why they think that she's gay. And they have come up with all these unhinged theories as to why. Like now that Taylor and Travis are engaged, people they started like I saw a post from the Gaylor subreddit saying that they were scared because of it. And someone saying that this is worse than 9/11, which is actually insane. But also there was one person that was saying there were people that were saying that they think they're both going to come out at the Super Bowl because they also think Travis is gay for some reason. I don't know, man. I don't know. And also coming up with all these excuses about how she wears bi flag colors. It's like who cares, man? So what? Someone wears colors that doesn't mean anything. Like they're literally like Larrys. Like Larrys, if you don't know what Larrys are, it's people that ship Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles. Um, Allegedly there are a lot of them that still ship them, and some of them even think that Louis Tomlinson's kid is fake. They like that's crazy. Like, do you understand how crazy that is? And I'm just thinking, like, I heard that Taylor and Travis both want kids. So if they have a child, what the hell are they gonna do? Are they gonna claim the child is fake too? Like, I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, that's it. Uh, I just don't get the obsession with Taylor Swift. I never understood it. I do like some of her music. I love Reputation. Um, I love Folklore. But you know, thinking back to when I said this stuff about Grammys and how people shouldn't let like awards and streaming depend on what album they like. Speaking of that, Reputation didn't get nominated for any Grammys when it came out, but I still love that album. I I still do, and I'm not even a Swiftie. I still love that album. I'm a Reputation truther. I am. But anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for watching.